Welcome to Game 3 of such an exciting series here between two evenly matched teams, UCLA versus the Santa Clara Broncos. And today we have a third game, unlike last week, as UCLA was able to get the win 2-0. But now we'll have to see exactly how UCLA is able to finish up this game, if they are able to, as they are actually going for the same kind of cheese that the Broncos tried for the first time. And it might get, actually, oh my god, his Dragon might actually have to blow fast here. This is pretty big for UCLA as a start. Now, as we see here, UCLA has the Jinx, and the Jinx is an especially big timer. Jinx is like the ADCs of Corki, even though Corki is still technically an ADC. Because Jinx is a monster, and I love Jinx. So we'll just have to see exactly how Jinx is going to be managed by by Santa Clara this game. We see again the Renekton pick here by First Poro. Renekton into Gnar is actually, in my opinion, not an awful matchup because both champions have pretty similar themes, and so it leaves up the use or the value of each champ to be pretty much up to the player's own potential. It's much more skill matchup-y than something that's like scaling versus strong early. Lissandra is unfortunately a mid laner that, as I do not see very much of, do not have very expansive knowledge about, but she does have a lot of utility in that she has a good amount of AoE damage. She has an escape slash, I guess, engage. A lot of AoE stuns. Her ult is phenomenal for both saving herself and for just doing a lot of damage in team fights. So we'll have to see exactly how Temetrius, who has been quite a star in UCLA's games so far, pilots her versus the Orianna, who is very much so a control mage, who's just focused on neutralizing and trying to get those great 5-man ults with her very mechanical ball. We do see a pretty normal clear here. It seems that both junglers will be opting for a typical full clear. However, they will be going bot side here, which will be pretty impactful, as whether or not Jinx gets a huge advantage might actually cause this game to snowball way out of control here. Gnar does get Mega, which is probably the one of the few times in lane in which Renekton does not feel terribly comfortable walking up to the wave. When Gnar is in the lower levels, where he's able to poke out Renekton, he is safe, and when Gnar is in Mega, he is safe, but as soon as that level 3 comes out and Renekton gets that combo opportunity, Gnar has to play a bit safer when he's just a cute little Yordle. Here bot side, we're just seeing both teams trying to take it slow. It seems that as the junglers have switched back to Douyu here, Lee Sin will be just taking a scuttle here a bit quicker than this Zhao is able to, and it looks like, as Temetrius is hovering here in River, that they might even go for something a bit more adventurous, and instead opting not to take it, as bot lane has decided to mirror Zhao just a bit better. And here, First Poro does go in, mismanages his Fury just a bit there, ends up queuing early instead of leaving it for the Slice and Dice, which could have left for a bit more, or not the Slice and Dice, but the W, which could have left a bit longer stun on the Gnar, a bit more damage out in the long run. We do see a possible freeze coming out here by First Poro. That's going to be devastating for Gnar if he's unable to break this. Lee Sin is still hovering topside as well. If Gnar is really... Oh, they see each other as well. So Gnar has to be especially careful here. Maybe Renekton will accidentally break this wave here, but if that is not the case, it seems pretty nasty for Gnar here. Wave will be cleared out by, or vision will be cleared out by Lee Sin. Oh, the Glacial on the Thresh is going to stop a lot of damage, but is it enough as Doggo is such a threat? Ooh. Okay. Pretty interesting trades we got going back and forth within this fight here. Doggos have to be a bit careful here. Does have the triple pot, which means both ADCs have a lot of HP regen. Doggo has a bit more range than his Dragon, but his Dragon's just going to get soloed here by Alibye, and then now Doggo is getting the kill on Sim, which is going to be massive for UCLA as they will try to take this Jinx, such a strong scaling champion here that doesn't even have that much of a bad early game, into a huge lead. Now, with that longsword start, we have to also consider just how impactful that is for getting that noon quiver earlier and possibly a pickaxe or some. That was a last whisper. That was a misclick by Doggo. But we do see the noon quiver coming out here with boots and refillable, so we can pretty much assume that had it not been that longsword start, it would have been just a noon quiver buy or maybe just a Zerker's Greaves buy. Whereas here we get the noon quiver and the boots, which is pretty big. The refillable will also give a decent advantage on the Jhin, who will only have one refillable or one red pot here. Alibye hovering topside mid, bit scary as Chairman will have to worry. He is hovering the right pocket of the lane, which will make it much more difficult. Lee Sin hits that Q. Maybe the Thresh saves the day here, but the ward is not able to stop it. The Lissandra does ult the Thresh, but nothing comes up it as Zhao is able to counter this gank. 4 people on the side of Broncos will be able to actually take the advantage here, as Jinx is free farming bot side. Whether or not this is actually worth will be determined later on. Broncos will actually get the Cloud Drake most presumably here, unless a pretty good steal occurs. Does not look like it will. Unfortunately for them, it is not the greatest of dragons. Topside, we do see a Bramble Rush by Gnar, and ordinarily I would not be too keen on such a rush. I would feel like something like towards a Tab Eyes would be a bit better, but it might be good here because of the triple AD we do see out of the side of UCLA. He's actually currently doing pretty well using his small form to get CS, where Renekton does not excel terribly well, although Renekton does have a lot more kill pressure when he is small, when he's in his mini Yordle form. His mini form. Ooh, Doggo getting a bit unfortunately rooted here. But will not be enough as both junglers are hovering the bot side. A lot of action so far this game. Doggo will just push this wave, and it seems nothing too special here as they're staying, probably trying to force out some amount of advantage here, as his dragon is going to be losing a bit more mana. Chairman is going to kind of just keep this back and forth pretty active. He's been doing pretty well, not taking too much of Lissandra's poke, but also Lissandra's been doing pretty well, not taking too much of Orianna's poke. Alibye, may I just add, loves this specific brush. Has literally been camping this brush the entire game. Absolutely loves this brush, and it seems that probably at this point, Santa Clara knows this. Keeps going back and forth. Ooh, that might spell doom for Doggo here, as the Thresh will death sentence Doggo into his dragon's revolver. Mid lane, it's still pretty even. I guess that's what happens when you have 2 decently good neutralizing mages. Renekton will be cleaning up this wave here, instead not opting to keep it in his pocket. He's going to instead push it out. Kind of curious, as Lee Sin is topside. Maybe it's because Lee Sin... Oh, Lee Sin is looking for the Rift Herald, so I guess the idea behind this is that Renekton will be pushing out this wave and then meeting with Temetrius in the river to get this rift pretty safely. This could be pretty big here if they're able to use it to extend their lead. I would suggest that, if possible, it be used to the aid of Jinx, as Jinx is going to be a really primary focus. Doggo has been a pretty reliable ADC in a lot of his games so far, so we'll just have to see whether or not they're putting their priorities in the Temetrius or the Doggo carry position. To be fair though, Temetrius is not on a normal carry champ that we often see this UCLA student piloting. Alibye getting a bit cut off here, but we'll be discovering how far out of position both these members of the Broncos are, as red side will be punished very heavily. Ooh, does this rocket kill? Super Mega Death Rocket will not actually pick up the Zhao here. Orianna just pushing this wave in while Lissandra is gone, clearing either vision or otherwise hovering the river. Renekton is going to be receiving this wave here. Nothing too special. Of course, as per usual in these kinds of matchups, they both opted for very defensive items. we can only presume that they are looking for to be utility champions and not carry champions. As I suggested, the Rift Herald will be going for the Doggo here, as Doggo is going to be massively influential in this game's success. This wave will be fully pushed in, so UCLA really just has no troubles in bot side here. UCLA's biggest focus this game is likely going to be in continued objective control and funneling into the basket as Jinx. I guess one thing that's really important to note is that given that Jinx is such a potent carry this game, treads won't be nearly as commonly built, which will make the CC found on all of her allies that much more deadly. Gnar has been basically pushing in this Renekton the entire game, and Renekton's been taking pretty decent trades back. But I guess at this point is where we can kind of see that Renekton is no longer as potent, as Gnar gets pretty tanky with just a first one or two buys, and Renekton at this point has lost a lot of his early game prio. He's more so now just a HP bot that's going to focus on stunning some important member on the Broncos. It's all about whether he can maintain CS and not die. We can see it's pretty difficult so far, as Gnar has been putting a lot of ranged poke on him. Does seem that the second dragon might still go down to the Broncos, which will spell a bit more of a disaster situation for UCLA, as if they're able to get outscaled by Soul. Oh, never mind. A great Alibye play here. Doggo will have to go into melee range in order to damage the jungler here. Oh, Doggo going a bit too aggressive on Chairman Pao, and that's going to actually spell the doom for UCLA here. They're going to instead be forced out of this pit as Jin, magic number 4, gets this quadra kill here. That might actually have just turned the tides here, as Jinx is no longer the ADC to look at. Jin 5-1-1, pretty even on CS as well. We're going to have to see exactly how Jin is able to use his advantage he just gained here. Pretty good for the side of Santa Clara to pick up all these kills on Jin, as Orianna is likely not going to be the carry so much in this game, as she is pretty decently outranged by Jinx, whereas Jin can play farther back, use his curtain call, his RFC, these sort of more utility or ability-based ranged attacks to deal with Jinx. Top side, may I add, both top sides have been weak all 3 games. It has been incredibly slow-paced, and I almost feel sorry for both of these laners, as all the attention has been mostly on the mid laners, as Chairman Pao was largely the reason for the success of the first game, with the Corki, Syndra being largely the reason for the success in the second game, and now this game, a lot of focus on bot side. Perhaps a better idea for both these teams moving forward is that... Oh, never mind. As I say this, weak side no more. Renekton getting a kill with the help of Temetrius and Douyu. However, still applying my previous statement, maybe if this is the preferred style of these teams, going for more utility-based picks such as Sion, Ornn, etc. may seem a better fit for their playstyle going forward. We'll just have to see if that is a possible adaptation they will take, or if they rather... Ooh, Super Mega Death Rocket will snipe it with the addition of the Ignite. Ignite luckily giving the vision just enough for Jinx to be able to hit the Thresh there. Mid lane, we see the normal back and forth, not too special. Items are starting to come out here, as we see Lee Sin, Zhao, Lissandra, Jinx, and Jin all with their first items. We're going to see the rest of the members start getting their items soon too. I'd be interested to see if we ever find a Anathemas picked up on the side of UCLA, as the Jin is probably going to be the biggest impactful champion this game. Luckily for Doyo, he does have the smite up to snag that blue buff on his way out. It's not going to be too big a deal, but Curtain Call will be down for a bit, which will impact how potent Jin's power and lead will be, as he will have to be a bit closer in order to interact with the rest of the champions on the side of UCLA. Gnar a bit deep in the jungle here, trying to look either for vision or for catching someone off guard. We will see the ward go down. That will tell the side of the Broncos where Lee Sin is, but Lee Sin just conveniently walking past it, not actually going for the blue buff side of the path, but Zhao will find him. Renekton will be quicker on the rotation, and Jinx will be also coming up. Possibly this will be a bit of an overextension, as Leona does end up hitting him. A lot of chain rooting here between the Jinx. Oh, the Orianna ult not able to pick anyone. Thresh, Glacial Augment being such a huge reason for the success of the Broncos here, with Thresh slowing down such large portions of the enemy team. Temetrius is now going to be able to rotate here, picking up the mid wave in the meanwhile. And it seems like Red side will actually be giving up their first objective here, as Rift will once more go down to UCLA. Doggo is going to be doing a lot of damage here, as Kraken will be shredding this giant crab. It seems that Red side has stayed a bit too long, as they would have been most likely better off picking up the waves in other lanes rather than trying to skirmish around an objective they've already lost control of. And instead, we'll see probably just a full rotation between Rift into the Dragon, as Dragon will be spawning up in 50 seconds. We can see recalls coming out on both sides, probably to pick up items. Leandry's coming out on Orianna. Leandry's kind of puts Orianna in such a place in which Orianna is most likely assuming the position of kind of poking down Renekton and Lee Sin and Leona here, whereas a Ludens would imply a one-shot, more so, build against the Jinx, which means that they're continuing to put more of their emphasis on the side of the Broncos in other carries, such as Jhin, to actually deal with the Jinx of UCLA. UCLA's Jinx will actually be kind of not terribly far behind in terms of items, but not to a point where the items of the Jinx will actually be more impactful than Jhin here. Rift Herald will be going down right before Dragon. Does give a bit more priority in vision and mid control to the side of UCLA. Unfortunately, both supports have been without mythics, and Gnar is still without a mythic, as the Brambleby set him back 800 gold. And this Mountain Dragon will be largely impactful for either side, as it will make the tankier bruisers. Oh, Temetrius is getting caught out here. This is huge. Will escape, does get a nice W off, but will die. But a lot of vision was succeeded by the Broncos, but will not matter, as Santa Clara SCU will take this dragon here. And this is going to be a dire situation if Douyu does not steal. It looks like he most likely won't, as Sim is going to come around and take away his opportunity. Now, this is really bad, as Jinx, who was once ahead in the early game, has no longer the lead, nor the damage she needs to kind of fight back against the Soul. We also don't see a single Serpent's Fang user on the side of UCLA, and we all know Shadow Flame is a poor excuse of an anti-shield item, so it's going to be really difficult if Mountain Soul comes out and there's no real way to kind of get through this thick shield that will be appearing on Gnar, on Thresh, on Zhao. Topside turret will go down, as so will Lee Sin, as Gnar will take the kill. And Temetrius also getting caught out. Temetrius this game has been not as good in positioning and has found both times a way to die in the enemy jungle. Here we do see Jinx kind of contesting topside with the First Poro acting as a bit of cover. Alibye trying to find some sort of tower dive, but the wave will not be there to cover them. First Poro maybe thinking of Krugs, maybe not. Will actually move back out, as Doggo probably chooses to back pretty shortly. Sim getting a bit of vision control with his Oracle Lens here. And it looks like both teams are going to reset for the moment being. Shadow is going to try to get this tower. Full items are built on every champion here, except for Thresh, as Thresh is still not at the point of the locket. Maybe. Nope, still not at the locket after leaving base. Wait, never mind. Just needed one more gold, I guess. So now we have full mythics on every champion. No completed second items on any, though. So this second item, Power Spike, is likely going to decide exactly how Soul Point goes. If there's a large enough gap in item prowess between Broncos and the UCLA Bruins, there will be a huge issue to deal with, as Santa Clara will already have a rather decent lead in terms of objectives to carry them through this next fight. One thing to again note on is UCLA's impeccable ability to not cede any towers, as we see all the towers are still up, whereas they've dug into every tier 1 that is on the side of the Broncos. Santa Clara will be a bit more pressed for vision here. Maybe when this Meganar runs out, he'll be taken out as a Yordle. Sandra is hovering this brush, and Shadow is doing a good job not being too close to it, but it will not be enough as the Sandra gets the Everfrost, a bunch of chain roots, nearly dying, however, as Shadow will get the level up, not enough as Douyu is there to pick up the kill. And that's going to help with the upcoming Drake fight, as it's going to be a bit more gold on the jungler. I think Doggo is going to really need to try to find an Infinity Edge as soon as possible. It'll be probably too late, though, for this Soul Dragon and possibly even Elder Dragon, which would be a huge issue if they end up giving Soul over. Infinity Edge will be largely impactful in terms of Jinx's ability to kind of crush the tankiness already present on Santa Clara's team. Seems that both teams are taking a more passive approach, as they are just clearing waves, getting vision, and setting up around their own jungle. We do finally see a second item out on Lissandra, who has been keeping a pretty decent item advantage against the side of against Orianna here, as she's picked up Zhonya's. Orianna is presumably going for a Horizon Focus, which will... I don't think will be too useful, to be quite honest. I feel like there are other items she could have gone. I feel like something akin to either a Death Cap would be a bit more substantial, or even something a bit more like a Staff of Flowing Water, which would be useful for her teammates when she gives her ball around. These are possible options that could have been considered, as Chairman Pao is just going to get absolutely exploded. Will live with Flash. Thresh once more doing a phenomenal job of just keeping everyone in place. First Poro here really showing off the Renekton, flashing in and grabbing Orianna. However, it seems like here, this dragon is going to be completely controlled off by UCLA. Hopefully, Thresh picks up the Gromp here. Will not actually pick up the Gromp here. I feel like that would have been the proper play to give him a bit more regeneration. Instead, it will seem like he'll stick on low HP and try to engage from the shadows. Does land the hook very skillfully on Douyu, and it seems like UCLA is down for the count once more. And this is going to be Soul, and this is going to be a very difficult situation for UCLA to deal with. Jinx has been exploded in almost all these fights way too quickly for her to even get any damage off, and so it will be excruciatingly painful with this now Soul difference we are seeing between these teams for UCLA to come back here. Items-wise and gold-wise, we don't actually see much of a disparity, which is phenomenally surprising, at least in my opinion, and it's a testament to how well UCLA is at controlling towers, as largely these gaps have been closed by CSing and towers, as all the kills and the dragons have been going to the side of Santa Clara. Both teams seem to be taking a bit of a break here from fighting. Their waves are all crashed around the center line of the map. Alibye will Hex Flash into a warded brush, not able to get anything. Jinx using her little laser to try to poke out and find vision. Nothing will come of it, though. Seems that both teams will just resume clearing of waves. One thing that can be said that is a really nice thing to see when you have skilled players is this huge focus around fighting only when necessary and only when guaranteed fights are, when you're guaranteed a good result from fights. And you see this a lot between these two teams here, as most of the fights have been occurring around objectives or have been advantageous fights, with the exception of a couple fights that occurred during counter ganks, which were just, it's a good sign. It's a nice, high-quality play, and it's very enjoyable to watch. We do see the Zeal and the Kerchai's Shard on the Jhin here, pretty close to Rapid Fire Cannon. He may be recalling just for that purpose right now. That's going to be largely impactful, as he will now outrange Jinx here. Be able maybe to one-shot her with that 4th shot. Instead, he will stay here in mid-side, maybe not close enough to get the Rapid Fire Cannon. And it seems that both teams are just kind of waiting for the next objective. Items-wise, we were seeing pretty standard builds. I mean, it's Gore Drink or Sterak's, because bruisers are bruisers, and they don't have like any other build path. We'll actually see quite a difference in this kind of playstyle when the bruiser changes come out, and Sterak's loses a lot of its power, as well as a lot of other, or not power, but tankiness, as well as a lot of other items. You'll possibly see the resurgence of Death Stance, as it will regain its both armor and MR reduction, or both its Fizz and magic damage reduction. It'll be interesting to see exactly how these bruisers shift into the post-bruiser rework. Jinx will, once more, as I suggested, probably not get IE in time for the Elder Dragon, which is going to be very difficult to manage, especially when you have these massive returning shields from the Mountain Soul on Santa Clara. Lissandra is pretty stunted at this point, no longer holding the same item advantage she once held. Seems that they're just going to be more so trying to find whatever they can mid-side. Thresh sending out a hook, not hitting Alibye. And it's just really slow here. Both teams are trying to more so play this very carefully, as this is game point, and we'll decide who wins. And it's not terribly outrageous to say that UCLA has still a perfectly reasonable chance here after one good team fight, picking up Elder, picking up Baron, and already using their tower advantage to kind of push down mid-side, or mid lane. Instead, it will seem that their tower advantage will diminish just a bit, as red side will push in the blue tower, the mid tower tier 1. First Poro is pushing out just a bit. We'll probably recall here, as Gnar is coming to grab the wave here. Thresh, Orianna, and Zhao are just sticking in river, possibly looking for vision and or just holding pressure. Being outside of vision does help scare UCLA quite a bit here. Renekton moving up mid-side, and it looks like maybe a rush. Jinx is phenomenally a strong Baron champion, but Alibye will have to single-handedly kind of hold off this Baron here. Maybe they don't know. It's possible that they don't know. They do see First Poro mid here, but they don't see anyone else on the map. And here comes the control word that perfectly exposes UCLA, and it seems like they won't quite be able to reach it here. First Poro does finish picking up the mid wave, and it seems like everyone on UCLA is going to recall, looking for very small advantages, probably just picking up whatever item we can. Jinx picking up a stopwatch here is actually a pretty decent pickup, as it'll help her survive just a bit longer if she's able to use it, and whatever threat she was using it for is was destroyed of. Lissandra will be getting her needlessly large rod. That's just base 60 AP though, not going to be too big. Renekton getting caught out here, having to have to use Dominus. And it seems that this might be Baron, as Renekton is pushed very far away. It does turn a bit back onto the Zhao, but Zhao is kind of comfortable here. Gnar missing the ult, but Temetrius getting caught out once more. Will he ult? He will instead Zonia's, as his ult is actually gone. Doggo is being a dangerously powerful weapon here, unfortunately. Zhao does not care when he's not in melee range of Doggo. And that's unfortunate, as UCLA, although having a really good start to fight out with, just doesn't have the same level of control in terms of CC and in damage, as the Zhao ultimate is devastating to deal with when you only have a ranged carry. Douyu will be looking for the steal here, but instead he will find both the bot laner and the top laner for Santa Clara, absolutely invading him and killing him in Krugs. And that's going to be Elder Dragon down to the side of Santa Clara. And that's going to be a very difficult issue to deal with for UCLA. UCLA Jinx did not pop Stopwatch and does not have Infinity Edge yet, although Stopwatch would not have been too impactful in that last fight, as she was the last one left anyways when she did go down. You're seeing Warden's Mail out in the Renekton, still opting into a much more tanky form of build, which is perfectly fine. Same thing with the Lee Sin. The only issue is that you put all of your eggs in the Jinx basket. Lissandra is not the AP carry like Syndra is. And now you're just really far behind, and UCLA can't really do much unless Syndra gets a huge advantage. Maybe a Super Mega Death Rocket steal, but besides that, there's just really not much left for UCLA. Sim will be tanking the Rocket, and it will be the last answer UCLA has, as Doggo is down an ult, and UCLA is down a Baron. Lissandra will be heading bot side to pick up the wave. One of the few answers UCLA still has left is pushing in the waves as much as possible to diminish the impact that this Baron buff will have. The only issue is that it's not just Baron buff, it's also Elder Dragon, so almost all fights are guaranteed a loss. And you'll see here, Orianna just cleanly picking up this wave, as both mid laners will actually choose to go back here. Oh, never mind. Lissandra, seeing that Orianna is gone, will actually instead keep pushing out this wave, trying to keep some amount of pressure bot side here, not let their turrets fall too far behind. Renekton is a very safe ways away from this tower. I bet he just doesn't think he can do anything to match the Gnar here, so instead he's going to sit in this brush top side, or so wait him out and try to see if he can pick him up later. Mid is going to be pushed in pretty decently. Zhao and Thresh are decently tanky, as well as hugely powerful in terms of engage and CC. Jhin is 9-1-5. Once more opting into the QSS, going utility over the IE. He is going to be trading it off, but if he can stay alive that much longer, it'll all be worth it in the end. Renekton is still unable to even hold anything up to this Gnar. And it seems that both sides will just be destroyed as mid and top go down. Jhin curtain calling, possibly looking for any amount of damage, will not be getting anything, however. Instead, Gnar will be focused on here. This might actually be not good for UCLA. Never mind. Do you just kick away Zhao? But Zhao just go in. Jhin comes in, gets a bit of damage, will be focused on by First Poro, will not be enough. Douyu is trying his best to kick away the Zhao, but it will not be enough, and that will be 0 down for the for Santa Clara, and everyone down for UCLA, as this game is just about over. Elder Dragon, Mountain Sol, and Baron Nashor being too much and too oppressive to deal with anymore. Thank you for watching Week 2, and see you in Week 3.